Good evening. This is Defacto Review, a weekly analysis of Mongolia's political, economic, and social issues by economist and columnist Mr. D.Jargalsaikhan.
Good evening.
And I'll be your co-host, Tikshirult. Today's topics are on the surprise decision by the Constitutional Court, growth in the Mongolian economy, and the Khutul Economic Forum. So, a lot of economical issues this week?
Yes.
So the first issue was the surprise decision by the Constitutional Court made earlier this week. So what happened is that the Constitutional Court reversed a ruling that they made in 2019. So the ruling that was made in 2019 limited the number of members of parliament that can hold double posts in both the legislature and the cabinet to four members and the prime minister. So that means the decision that was made earlier this week makes it so that every member of parliament can hold double posts. We also call this double dead. And there was also other issues regarding increasing the number of members of parliament to maybe 120 or more. So what do you think of this decision that was made by the Constitutional Court so early, so soon after, the amendment in 2019?
Yeah, we know that Mongolia was gearing up for a second constitutional amendment just after 3 years. Because 2019 amendments strengthened the Prime Minister's power, capped the number of MPs who can hold ministerial and MP positions to 4, and limited the maximum term of the presidency from 2 4-year terms to 1 6-year terms. And they say it is for stopping political hampering for development. But looks like it was not enough. Why? Because instability of the power in the country is caused the hybrid power system. President, which is elected directly from the people, and the cabinet, who was nominated by the parliament, which also were elected directly from the people. So this was the halfway done through all these changes, and now they want to make it the second half. So how they did it, on August 15, last week, the Constitutional Court made 2 final decisions. First, the PM can nominate and dismiss on cabinet members, not limiting to only 4 MPs. Because they find limiting of number of MPs make the PM dependent on some institutions, whatever institutions is this. So it is very interesting formula. It is limiting his power to be independent in a way. Second, the enlargement of the legislature is possible now, but how many members to be there, it's subject on regard of the parliament. So let's see both of them in details. Both decisions enforce anyway the next amendments of the constitutions, and it can be made by this parliament because ruling party MPP, Mongolian People's Party, has 62 seats out of 76 seats in the Great Khural. And it's going to make it, looks like, because they have just announced in a regular session of the Great Khural next week, August 22 and 26. Most probably they will discuss this issue. Well, now one by one. First, about this double dead issue, as you have mentioned. It is holding dual positions in the cabinet and in the parliament. those who are supporting a separation of the power is saying that legislative and executive branch are to be separate. That was, by the way, main motives of changes in 2019. Why? Because if not limited, then 18 parliament members can be ministers, which is 1/4 of the legislature, which makes completely the legislatures dependent on the executives. So parliament is in the executive branch is too much for independence of the legislature. Those who are against this one, it says non-MP ministers, as practice show, are not well received at the parliament. And they find parliament member ministers are being not experienced. More than that, with more MPs becoming ministers, it will be easier to make decisions at the parliament. And it will make stronger the solidarity of the ruling party in making decisions. And also it has to do with the 2 missing appointments of 2 ministers. So on the double del issue, about the enlargement of the legislature, the general view now is we need to increase the amount of parliament members. Some say even 2 times, from 76 to 150. Or even some say it's 108. It's a more symbolic figure for Mongolians. In any case, it looks like this time Mongolian parliament will be larger. Some suggested even to have 2 chambers parliament, but there is no consensus, neither knowledge among public and political elite inside out the country. So probably this time it will not go ahead. And people really find that the current parliament is disproportionately small compared with the size of the population. Also, at the moment, some factional politics, the current Prime Minister has been unable to appoint. They say the current Prime Minister is not able to appoint 2 newly created ministers' positions. One is Minister of Economic Development, the other is Minister of Digital Development. So all these things have been brewing and prepared well for quite some time, because it had involved some 24 political parties who have not seats in the parliament. And altogether, all political parties of Mongolia made a joint declaration confirming their support for the constitutional amendments. They hope that they will have a chance to be in the parliament through the newly elected or introduced proportional system, not only the majoritarian system. But whether it will happen here or not clear.
So the number of legislators and the double del issue. So these are issues that go hand in hand at the moment?
Yes, that's connected because 1/4 of the parliament members theoretically can be cabinet members, which has a ridiculous whole the system and balance of the power. So that's why it's one of the arguments they will increase the number of parliament seats. So they have to. But at the end, through all this thing, they want to get, with the new amendments in 3 years of the Constitution's last amendments, they want to have the president to be elected indirectly. In other words, from the parliament members, like many other countries, so that we have pure parliamentarian system. But however, it is not that easy. But hopefully they will, next week discussions, next week regular sessions of the parliament, they will discuss the issue which comes from the decisions by the Constitutional Court about the 2 systems we have talked just now about. The other thing is, with the new constitutions, there will be new political parties law adopted, which will give more chance to be transparent for all political parties. But I doubt that they will change that current political party laws. Every time they discuss it before Parliament, but before the election, but never they complete it. Probably this time the same things we are expecting.
And regarding the decision by the Constitutional Court to take away this limit of MPs that can serve in the cabinet, the opposition party, the Democratic Party, has come out and criticized the court for changing the constitution as they please. So, do you think that the criticism is warranted?
It's a very good argument too, because the Constitutional Court makes decision really in 2000, for example, that the parliament members can be with double del. That's the decision in 2000. 2019, they said, no, it cannot be. It should be limited up to 4. But now they say that, no, they can be. And it's up to Prime Minister who made decisions. So, unfortunately, that the political conditionality is there. And the Constitutional Court, which is consisting of 9 members, 3 of them nominated by the President, 3 of them by Parliament, 3 of them by legislature. And I think it has to do with the reality of our society and the maturity of the democracy. So I don't exclude they will change it again, maybe after 4 years. So that's the real situation now.
So let's move on to our next topic. Earlier this week, the National Statistics Office presented its social and economic report of Mongolia for the first 7 months of this year. What stood out from this report was that inflation reached 15.7% last July, which was 10.6% higher than the end of last year, and 1% higher than that at the end of June. Other takeaways were the astounding 82.6% increase in the price of vegetables, 39.2% increase in the price of fuel, but the report concluded that the economy grew 1.9% in the first half of this year. And compared to the same period last year, this was actually, or it grew 1.9% compared to the same period last year. So that means the economy is growing at the moment. So this brings us to the issue of economic recession. We've talked about this issue on the Defacto review a few weeks ago. And a lot of people in Mongolia are talking about the economy and how we may be getting closer to a recession, yet the economy shows growth. So is it safe to say that we're not in danger at the moment of a recession?
Yeah, according to due to economic theory, economic recession is coming when you have 2 quarters in a row shrunk of the economy. And this time the National Statistics Office reported about the development not for first half of a year, but for 7 months of the year. A bit surprised, a little bit late information come this time. Usually it comes in July, now only comes mid-August. But nevertheless, first quarter was minus 3%. But the second quarter was plus 1.9. So there is no decline in two quarters in a row. So that's why we are safe to say the economy is not yet in the recessions. And we will see the third quarter result. So if you go into the details of the report, then GDP reached 23 trillion MT. Our GDP is usually 46, and we expect a bit of growth this year. But surprisingly, for this first half of this year, agro products and service and taxes were the key growth driver. Last year it was mining, service and tax. So you were talking about the almost 85% increase of vegetables price. Agriculture industry, and it is growth, 11% growth on year-on-year base. So this time, more driving force was agriculture industry. Inflation, yes, 15.7%, and it's 10% higher than January 1st this year. So the main growth coming for this year, not last year. And 40% of the whole price hike was, as you said, by vegetable price hikes, but 60% by imported goods prices, including fuel, as you said. So the price of AI-92 type of gasoline is capped now. They will not change it. But however, in reality, it's changed a lot, and it will require a certain adjustment just at the beginning of the new year, because the price kept till the end of this year. That's what inflation is consisting of. Another one is a foreign trade balance come positive, more export than import. We have very aggressively bought gold, 2 and 3 times more than a year-on-year base. Copper concentrate 15% higher, coal 7% up. These are the export results. Import, due to many reasons, it was relatively smaller. That's one of the reasons of foreign trade balance being positive. But our balance of payment is negative. It has $1.1 billion deficit. It is because of the current account deficit, which means we have less income compared with what we purchase abroad. So it is not the best picture. Another one I observed is state budget revenue have increased 8.7% year-on-year base. And Mongolian state budget is 38% of GDP. So role of the Mongolian government in the economy is still high, almost 40%. And but this budget still has a deficit. Why? Because still the government spending more than they are earning, though our tax fee payment for the budget have increased almost for 1 trillion MNT, which is almost the equivalent of the deficit. So it is also a warning signal that the government taxing more and more. Certain interesting statistics this time in this National Statistics Office report about labor. Our labor capacity have increased by 5.4%, by 59,000 people, and reached 1.16 million. It's a bit interesting increase.
And that's including the number of people who are in informal employment, correct?
Yes, this time yes. But however, that's the issue. Informal sector is not paying taxes, yet taxes increasing. So that means those who is formal sector, or those who is paying taxes, running on accounting documents, they are paying more and more taxes. Another interesting thing for me, observation, was the people are working in agro industry, forestry, fishing, and hunting have decreased by 4,000. Construction also decreased by 2,000 people, and at the level of now 83,000 people work in the construction sector. In trade sector, 140. It's down by 12,000. Surprising. But those went to, looks like, into production industry. 143,000 people work creating values they can touch. But the people working here is increased by 30,000, which is, I think, relatively good news for economy, that shift from, say, trading to production. Another interesting sector which is up in terms of labor is mining and quarrying. 63,000 people work in this sector. So now in terms of income, what happened to the average monthly household income? It says it is remaining the same, 1.1 million MNT for average household income monthly. No change on the year base. And real income actually went down 0.85%. Because, for example, pension, real income went down 20%. The capacity of pension you received last year and this year is different now. So anyway, you see that Mongolian economy is a mining economy because in GDP, in export, and production outcome, the mining is more than 20%. So it's very key for Mongolian economy, the sales of copper, coal, and gold to the international market. And so far, these commodities were sold, half of them as planned. So hopefully for the remaining of the year, 4 or 5 months, they will sell completely as planned. Then we will have some expectation that the economy will grow at least positive. That's my expectation.
So lastly, our third topic also deals with the economy. The Khutul Economic Forum happened in Siling province this week. And I understand that you attended this forum in person. What were your takeaways? What do you think that the forum was productive overall?
Khutul is a 40 years old cement and lime plant made by Russians, run by the Mongolian government mostly. And it has all the required raw materials deposits just nearby, which makes the cost of the production lower. And it is in Siling territory, but it is 30 kilometers to Darkhan. It's more close to Darkhan than Siling center. And it's on the way from Ulaanbaatar to Erdenet. So basically it's the center of the triangle connecting the last cities of Mongolia, most producing cities, including capital city. The plant was privatized in 2015 for only 1.2 billion MNT under the management privatization scheme. But later on, the government of Mongolia and other related offices found that this privatization was illegal. The money was used for, also state money was involved, etc. So this is a separate issue which is at the court now. But what happened was 2022 in March, the state changed the management. Now it's completely state-owned enterprises. What happened just during 5 short months? What happened? The company had 120 billion MNT loss. Now after 5 months, it turned into 13.5 billion MNT profit. It had 10 billion MNT to the social insurance. And the workers could not have any loan because as they have not been paying for quite some time the social insurance. They have paid this during this 5 months, the social insurance debt. Third, salary of some 800 plus workers went twice higher. And now it's at 2.5 million MNT on the average, way higher than the state average salary. And they have produced 400,000 tons of cement for last, say, a year, mostly for last 5 months, of 400 100,000 tons of cement in a record high performance. And lastly, the plant had in the balance when the management changed only 81,000 only MNT. Now it has in its checking account 10 billion MNT. So a question comes: how come during the just 5 short months this kind of changes? And that was clear at this forum. So I made. It's my conclusion is first, leadership is matter. Leadership matters, particularly not conflict of interests. Company first, not me first. Second, they have eliminated the sales broker who made the most money for the new private owners. And they were buying fractional prices from the plant, which made the plant so poor. The third, the new management had changed the incentive system for workers, which boosted productivity. And now the local administration is supporting much as taxes kept by them keep increasing. So at this forum, not only they discussed the current situation, but also about the future. And I saw a very clear vision of the development of the plant. It was a long-term and mid-term plant vision was introduced. And they're going to introduce an innovative technology that cuts the white dusts, which create a lot of social problems there. The third, they're going to increase production capacity of lime. Lime is a raw material for copper plants like Irdinet and OT. In fact, majority of the lime produced bought by Irdinet, and they have re-established new cooperation connection with Irdinet, the new management, I mean. So altogether, the investment required is 175 billion MNT. And with that money also, they will have a development of the township, new hard infrastructure, soft infrastructure, and new housing projects. And altogether, it will also develop tourism facility. It has a lot of big tourism potential, being in the middle of the biggest cities in the country, just about maybe people will stay there if they have a good hotel. So this plan was introduced. And most importantly, the new CEO, Mr. Narambatra, was talking about the possible IPO, truly IPO, which with this kind of management, capacity, vision, and I think most likely they will raise funds necessary for implementing their vision, I believe. On one side, the second one is it could be good example for other state-owned enterprises if it is run with a clear mandate, with clear leadership, clear vision. What kind of wonder a state-owned enterprise can do in Mongolia. So it's very important to have this Khutul plant succeeding with their plan.
So this marks the end of our Defacto review for this week. This has been the Defacto Review, a weekly analysis of Mongolia's political, economic, and social issues by economist and columnist Mr. D.Jargalsaikhan.
Yes, you can follow us on our website, jargaldefacto.com, and you can rewatch the programs we have made earlier, because it's so important to share with you the news or analysis of what's happening in Mongolia last week. Thank you very much for watching us.
Thank you. Have a good night.